Welcome back to Get With The Programming. I'm Chase Ingram.
I'm Captain America.
And along with me is Bill Grundler.
Wolverine.
And we have Mr. Hugo Stieglitz.
I'm done with people like David. Don't fuck with me ever again.
All right.
I had a request for that one, and he called an audible on me, and I like it.
You know what? What's great is that. So first of all, John has probably 15 of his own sound bites, which is great.
He has his own folder. Everyone else is in a folder, and then there's a folder for John.
Right. But what's great is all of us now are starting to kind of, I don't want to say get loose a little bit on the mic.
Awesome.
But we all have our own things. Like, how many shows have we all been into on
Who's
all the
on the
shows? We're
mic?
like, oh man, clip that one. That one's going to get
Last
cut.
week,
That one's
John
gonna
said
get
blowjob on the
I
podcast.
know.
I was like,
what?
dude.
All right, John.
He's testing his own limits, guys. You got to let him grow.
Yeah.
Right, he is.
I'm a peacock, Cap. You got to let me fly.
He is.
Yeah, let me fly. Well, welcome, everybody. This show, gosh, I want to say this started with a deep thought. I don't usually
Deep thought.
deep thought. 42, by the way. This is the year of the
Deep thought.
Yeah, I'm the year of the deep thought.
The first time of contemplation.
Yeah. And I was thinking, because there's all this, out in the ether of what the season's going to be. Like, Pedro and Coffee Pods and Watts has this thing. And then obviously Barbell Spin has their, like, basically it's like the CrossFit Illuminati. Like how Spin gets any of his information in the time in which he does, I'm not sure. It's witchcraft to me.
CrossFit clueless naughty.
And it, conversations are out there of what the next season can look like. And, if you've listened to what it could be, it sounds vastly different than what it's been in the past. And then there's this question that I was thinking about, or this thing is people's like, oh, the CrossFit community, everybody says it's awesome. But if you look at what it is now, it's probably not as awesome as it used to be or what it was, or it's all, it's like a buzzword now of what that is. And I was like, man, why is that even a thing that's coming up right now? And then I was thinking, like, okay, where are people at their worst? Online. If you think about Twitter or Instagram or any comments or watch a live stream is, most people who are disassociated from other people via the internet don't treat each other like normal people. And if you watch the news, or if you went, we just went through an entire election cycle of
the best of everybody.
Yeah, right? And then you're like, oh man, the world is falling apart. And then you go outside. This is one thing that during the pandemic that was really crazy, because you'd see all this stuff on the news and social media, and it was just so much noise. And then we would all go outside at a certain time, and there was a big street that people would just walk on at night every day. And so it was kind of like the neighborhood thing, and everybody kept their distance outside, and they were pushing their kids in strollers. And I was like,
waving across the street.
Or people were sitting in their driveways with beers because we knew it was 6 o'clock or it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and everybody would be outside walking. And I was like, you know what? Everybody's kind of awesome right now. Everything's kind of great. And whoever's trying to pull the strings on us from a national media, world media, fake news perspective is like, no, everything is actually okay. Even if we differ in person, like we're talking about John. And if you were like in the comments on the chat here on a show with John, that interaction is very one-sided.
Yeah.
But if you ever met him in person, it's a totally different experience. And pick any
Totally different.
that is, Taylor, for example, right? Like Taylor's Taylor, but like when you get Taylor alone, or like Taylor's a different Taylor than most people see, or Hiller, or that's just the online perception. And so it got me thinking. I was like, man, what were the best days? Like when was the community at its best? Right, the thing that we're all holding on to and we refuse to get. It's like Bill in the open. I'm like, you gotta let it go, bro.
Dang, that was a segue. Wow.
Right? You feel like, and I just wanted to like roundtable this. There's no topics. There's no graphics. There is this just like, hey, when was it at its best? Why do you think that was? And what are some of the things you think we could get back to, or fears that we may never get back to?
I'm gonna kind of go hop on your political back a little bit here. I think I was talking to Bill about this. And not that I lean left or right. I think a lot of people who know me know that I sit like pretty hard in the middle.
Yeah.
Like, go both ways on everything.
Which means you're on the right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're on the right.
Yeah.
But when the last election happened, that like especially with RFK, and then like for me, I lean pretty hardcore libertarian as far as like financially, and with Ron Paul, I was stoked because I was like, oh, we're gonna cut spending, like we're gonna do this stuff, and there was just a lot of hearkening back to like America being awesome,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, I haven't felt that really in my entire life. Like you guys are old enough to really have probably felt some of that
Mhm.
early on in your lives. And I was like we might have a possibility here.
Yeah.
And all it took was that small of a shift for that to happen. And I started thinking about CrossFit in that way. And I was like, dude, we're not far off. Like we just need some small shifts and we can be right back in the game. So I'm not hopeless by any means.
No,
But it's like
no.
there has to be some changes happen. So yeah.
Dude, that's way more of a hopeful outlook, I think, than I would have thought you would have presented, honestly.
Oh,
I thought you were going to say
Like,
than I have. I'm like, yeah, I know where Bill is right now.
right. Well, I mean, because like, you know, Tyler has a little bit of the conspiracy theory kind of like mindset all the time. He's always like yeah, but what's under the covers kind of thing. Like he always is looking that way, which
It's like, hey, this
I
happened. It's like,
appreciate.
what happened behind that?
Bill
Totally.
has, Bill has
appreciate.
seen unfiltered me probably more than almost anybody in the group besides like maybe John.
which is cool. So I really appreciate that because I really, well, you probably have seen that also with me too. I mean, there's a lot of questioning that goes on. Anyway,
we saw each other naked. That's what we're trying to say.
Yeah, basically, we shared a room. We shared a room together.
We did.
You shared more than a room.
See, it used to be me and Chase in the big bed, and I don't know what happened. It just got all switched out. Anyway, I agree. I agree exactly what you're saying politically, but I am very concerned that is unable to happen on the CrossFit side because I don't know if there are players. So like if you are equating this or paralleling this with the political side with Trump and all the rest of the people that he's picking to put on there, that's kind of like the old school mentality of America and what we're trying to do and that. And I don't know if the players are there to do that with CrossFit. I don't know if that feeling is there. And I don't know if it would take just a couple tweaks to do it, because if the drive isn't to do that, then I don't know if that can happen. That's not to say it has to go back, because one of the things, especially with CrossFit, I feel like we have always been very resistant to change. Like when they came out with the open, we're like, what the fuck are you doing? Everyone is going to cheat around the world now. So now all we are is we're CrossFitters that all cheat, because that's what it is. And then it was, then it was the regional, and everyone had their own, qualifying events. Everyone made up their own programming. So all these random people were qualifying to the games, and every time there was a change, there was an uproar. Yes. And I think that's kind of in our nature. That's always going to be our first knee-jerk reaction. Mm. But I do feel that to get back to the heydays of where the community was the tightest is going to be tough, because I don't know if we can, no matter what the plan is, no matter what the setup is, I don't know if the community at large feels like we did when we were 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. No. And that's a hard thing. Like when I, our OG stuff that we did, like the antithesis of this was because I was mad and Chase wanted to appease me. He's like, dude, we're just going to make an OG shirt for you and you're going to feel okay. And it'll be like the old school. Yeah. That's where it started. And that's what it was. And I don't know if we can get to that position. And I don't know if people like myself are just grouchy that it's like back in my day. You know what I mean? And that's a tough place to be in. That's a
Let
tough
me-
place to be in.
So,
Let me
oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
let me push back a little bit. If you think back 8 months, 9 months in the Trump like regime, none of the players that are currently playing were even being talked about.
Right.
And the sentiment that you have where you're like, just like, God dang, like there's no hope left. Not that I think that you feel totally like that, but you're starting to feel like really dogmatic about it. That the longer that sits and bakes in, the harder the entire community will be able to shift to have hope. And that's where I want to get back to is like, no, I just need you to have any breath of hope, or I don't want to get it so well seated in that we can't pull it back out.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope not. I agree.
I understand that sentiment, fear, frustration. I believe those players are still there and still here as far as cross. Because I mean, the only one we have really lost from the beginning of the old days is like Greg, and Greg has moved on, right? But like Dave is still there, Nicole is still there, Boz is still there, Chuck is still there, Todd Whitman is still there, Joe DeGane is still there, like Stefan Rush, like those people are all there, right? So the pieces are on the board, and maybe it's more of like how you put those together. Because the parallel of it's weird that we're paralleling
Politics. It started to turn that way though.
like you nailed it, Tyler. And it's like, okay, well, what shift is there that all these players are just like back on the board and in action, right? It's like, okay, we're what, 2 weeks into, maybe 2 weeks, we're not even into a presidency yet.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, we've got RFK doing this, Tulsi Gabbard doing this, Vivek doing that. Like, it's just boom, 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 boom. And like all these pieces, like to me, I've never been more into like who's going to be in a cabinet of a presidency.
It's never been as
Ever.
interesting as it is right now.
It's like someone likened it to the NFL draft, except it's not other teams. They're just positions.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is it? What's the breaking news today? And however you guys want to feel about that, and those watching, but like, no, I think it is. But to tail off what you said earlier, Bill, and you were listing off the years where everything seemed to be going in a direction of like, oh,
That was on purpose for you.
we're a rocket ship, right? Like we're on the tarmac and the engines are firing and it's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and we're like to the moon, and then someone shut the engines off.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, that someone was Greg.
Right, 100%.
That right?
I was pissed.
He's like, turn the engines off, turn those cameras off too, and
Everybody go home.
Everybody go home. Turn that social media off. But what the best years were, and this is where the conversation I wanted to circle around, is like, what made the CrossFit community great? Why was it great? Why was it so strong? Why was it so easy to be a part of it? Why was it so open and welcoming and loving and supportive? And yeah, sure, there was maybe some noise here and there, but I would feel like there's more negative noise in the space than there's ever been. Mm-hmm. Now there's more voices, there's more mediums to get that out there. Like the whole podcast scene wasn't really a thing for CrossFit in those days. There was the CrossFit podcast, but that was in-house, right? With Stefan, and they were talking about whatever he does as it normally does. And then maybe like the Wadcast podcast, CrossFit Radio, which was actually a radio show before like even podcasts for CrossFit were a thing, with Justin Judkins, but there really wasn't a lot of stuff out there.
Barbell Shrugged.
Barbell Shrugged, yes, a great example. And now there's just more people in the space and they can go whatever direction they want to go. But at the end of the day is that the biggest difference I see between maybe what we're working through now as a community and what we didn't have to work through then. Yes. You get always come at the right time. Yeah, you can go on the board. Just don't erase what I wrote on the board. Is that and this is where we let it off at the start, is that we got together as a community more often in person in ways that if you guys just joined CrossFit in the last 6 years, you have no concept of. Like what you guys think of semifinals is like the old regionals, not even close. what you guys thought of sanctionals and the old, it's like not even close. Like what the old regionals days were was that there was, and I get there's a financial element to this, which we can talk about, but there were so many, and they took so many people from like open to regionals. And there were it's just like a total diverse swath of people and talents competing. And all of these people would come to watch those people because most of the people competing in these competitions were your gym hero. And there are only a handful of people of that gym hero group. Say it was qualifying 48. It used to be 60, and then it became 20 and 20. They mashed it into one. Is that maybe 5 to 7 of those people could actually qualify for the CrossFit Games when you gave them 3 spots.
Right.
Everybody else was just there to like compete, and like regionals were their games. And there were so many opportunities there. And so you came to watch your people because your people were there, or people like you were there, and maybe you aspired to do that. And it's not all about CrossFit competition when it comes to the community. What I mean is that there were so many, and this is a phrase, collision points of people being in the space, bumping into each other, not physically, but just like there were so many touch points for the community. At one time, it was 17 different touch points as far as regionals were concerned to get to the games. And that just opened up so much more people to be involved other than just like wanting to talk about it. Like the sport now, it is so elite that most people just can't get into what the sport is anymore because there's just no opportunity other than like, oh, I'm a fan of this workout and maybe I like this athlete. I hope they make it, versus like someone like yourself was in there doing something that maybe you wanted to do and aspired to be a part of, or trickle down the line to those like 6 degrees of separation to someone in your gym that you were just there to be a part. Like there was more opportunities for the community to be together. And now I feel like we're almost trying too hard to make this an elite sport when it should just be celebrate the elite, but let's just go back to being an amateur sport.
So,
Well, man,
go
can you
ahead.
imagine that? Go. Yeah, I was just going to say, I agree with all of that. There wasn't a definitive line between the sport and the program. Like it was all of us. Like we all considered ourselves this.
One of us.
Yeah, we were all. It was all of our gang. I
Hey,
mean, whether you were a brand new nobody.
Is this the affiliate video winner, Jose? Is that you?
Oh dang!
Did you guys see that last week?
That was
Mhm.
sick. Yes, I did see that.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Congrats if that is you.
If that's amazing. There wasn't the and I don't mean a line between methodology and sport because it all blended. Like the games was the celebration of the whiteboard, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everybody was
The
on it. And
official
that was
whiteboard for the CrossFit community.
right. That's really what it was. It's like, okay, all you guys are good, but let's get the best of the whiteboarders out here to compete. Not like, hey, we're here to try to make this a professional sport. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I don't think that that's a bad thing at all.
No.
But what I do feel is that I think the part that's missing is that we don't feel like that gritty group that's out there on our own. That's like we're like everyone that like the joke was it was our fight club.
Yeah.
Right. No one talks about Fight Club. You know, but everyone knows that you're in Fight Club. You walk by instead of having a black eye, your hand's ripped. Whatever the thing was, like like that's how you knew. Or you walk. I mean, how cool was it, dude? Like when it was Reebok, and you'd walk through the airport and you'd see someone across the way with nanos on, you'd be like,
Gotcha.
"See you over there, brother.
Yeah.
I see ya." And I'm not talking, it's no bad on the Metcons and all the other ones or whatever you wear. And Tyler,
You're just talking about a time.
yeah. But that's but it was our group. Like that's.
Yeah.
I think that's what, and I don't know if we can get that. I don't know if we as a group feel different than F45 and Orange Theory and all of these other, I don't think as a group collectively, because I don't feel like coming from the top, and this is just me, Chase. I mean, I know you're working on that side.
Oh,
of the
you're
fence,
expressing your feelings. Heaven forbid we have an opinion about
right.
we feel, right?
I don't want to be the whole, like, I liked what was mentioned, and it's not a Greg thing, but I like what Greg said about what the methodology was. And then I liked that it was just dirty and gritty and tough and hard and painful and made for everyone, but not anyone. Like I liked that. And I feel like because we are leaning the other way, trying to get as many things, don't leave any money off, don't leave any of this money on the table, and make it look friendlier and everyone and being as inclusive as possible. And all of a sudden, like the group that I wanted to be part of is gone. So there's that element, that community element where it was like, hey, we get to get all the Fight Club groups together and have some fun. Like that's gone. So I like all of a sudden now it's like, well, it forces people like me, and I'm assuming maybe there are others like there like that, but I have now turned my vision completely inside my own gym walls.
Okay. So
completely 100%. And I know that that's not a good thing, but that's a protection thing.
yeah, but like that
Sorry.
thing that you want it, like say what you want your CrossFit to be. Yes.
Let me
Just jump in.
dealing with this.
Jump in,
So
Tyler, jump
let
in.
me interject a little
Go
bit.
downstairs and don't come back in my room.
I
Close the door. All right.
I think there are two pieces to this. One's the sports side, and one's more the HQ vision side, right? Bill kind of laid out like what he feels, but if you start to separate out into its parts, I think there are distinct differences. So, like as to what Chase was saying, the approachability from a community standpoint and an athletic standpoint with regionals, like I'm going to be brutal about this, but the bottom teams in 2024 or 2014 regionals, the athletes on those bottom teams were like not really good athletes.
They weren't good.
No.
But, and I've talked about this a bunch on other podcasts, what it made you feel like, what it made me feel like, because I experienced that. At CrossFit Maximus, we had a team go to regionals.
I
and
forgot
go to
you were
the
at
games.
CrossFit Maximus.
Yes. And it
Shout out
changed.
to Chris Walker.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Walker. It changed me forever.
Yep.
It made me want to train as hard as I trained for 12 years, which was to be a regionals, semifinals team athlete. And as we've gotten closer and closer to that, and it looks like that bar is going to continue to be raised again. Yeah. And so when you think about me, but like, let's pick on Ellie Hiller, like this will likely cut her athletic career off now. If we raise the bar again, like she was already an outside shot and she's going to be an outside shot again. If you keep continuing to cut that off. So we're talking about elite athletes right now. I would consider her an elite athlete, but she's still approachable to most people.
Right.
Lowering it down to somebody like me or John, and John's still quite a bit better than me, but me or John, like those people connect with those in affiliates. Maximus was an insane asylum of just like what athletes being around normal people does to a community.
Yep.
It made people move better. It made moms and dads who had no business training for regionals or anything like that feel like they should train more, which ultimately just makes them move better, makes them happier, makes them more aggressive towards bettering themselves. Mm-hmm. And so like this is from the athletic games sports side of the picture. And this is the reason I hate on the PFA so much. I actually understand why most people are a part of the PFA or the reasons I think they're a part of it. But what all these talks of different leagues and all that stuff, it's being run by athletes, elite athletes, the top 1% of the 1%. And they're only thinking, how can I get paid more? And how can I do more for myself? And it's like, I don't hate you for doing that, but you're cutting yourself off at the feet. Mm-hmm. What ends up happening is that what they don't realize is the people who pay to go to regionals and semifinals or all that stuff are the person who is connected to me at the gym who sees me on a team. They go for me, and they go because it's a state away.
Right.
It's not that far.
Relatively close, not hard to get in.
That was
the sea of green when Invictus was there.
Huge.
The Brick Nation and all the orange when they would be there.
Yep.
You know, when Mayhem was doing their, like whenever that was the connection. And I think and me and Sevon get into this argument all the time. There is a difference between CrossFit, the community, the fitness methodology, in CrossFit, the elite level in sport. Now, there's going to be a blend as you move from the community, the open, the quarters, and all that, where you're still kind of rooting everybody on. But like, there needs to be, I truly believe that it cannot be run by the same group of people, because you start tripping over the same foot,
Yep.
because they have to have different emphases. Emphasis. I don't know what that word would be. The plural of
I'm no help.
emphasis.
Emphasize.
I like emphasize.
Emphasize.
It's not right. There's no way that's right.
Not right at all, but I like it.
I got into a long discussion with one of my members that does. He works for medical unit for like amputees and stuff like that.
Mhm.
A lot of project manager stuff, and it's a lot of the same kind of thing. And he loves whiteboard talks. And we got in literally, I think a couple times now, about the pyramid of community and methodology, and then affiliates,
Yep.
and then sport, and what that looks like and what is needed for each of those. And the thing is that now, especially with the tip of sport being so minute and so fine, even though I understand like that's where the eyes are, and that's where that's the Super Bowl, basically. Like our CrossFit Games is the Super Bowl. And so the way to blend that, or to try to figure out how you put your emphasis, I just think it has to be designed by two totally different groups of people. And yes, the moon landing was faked. Coming from a man that wanted to be an astronaut. There you go. Matt, just throwing jabs in there. But I totally believe that. And I don't think that now, and I even, actually, when Greg pulled the plug on everything, I said that, I remember sitting at the games with Tanya, and we were talking about that. And I'm like, why can't there just be two different groups that are running this? I don't understand. Like, have CrossFit have Greg, instead of it making it be CrossFit Health or whatever he was trying to do, that initiative he was trying to do back in the day, have it be that, but then you have the games over here too, where you can kind of, you're not crossing paths and crossing streams. And I just think that it's gotten too much, and now we're too confused to figure out what we're trying to do.
So
Right.
I want to pull off a comment that Tyler had that really like light bulbed for me. And he was talking about raising the bar, right? It's like, we raised the bar. It was like, it went from, you could sign up for the CrossFit Games. 2007 to 2009. 2009 had some qualify. I think they had a regional qualifier in 2009.
Yeah.
Then it was
I was at that
sectional.
one.
Then it was open for 5 weeks, regionals, and it was like that from 2011 to 2011 to 2018. But then they raised the bar. Like, they raised the bar when they combined regions and cut spots.
Yep. Super regional.
So, and what the point is like, of this argument of like, the sport isn't CrossFit. I was like, well, it used to be. Right. So we raised the bar when we combined regions.
Mhm.
Then we raised the bar when we
Super
took it
regions.
all away. And then
Okay.
we raised the bar when we went directly to the games from the open. And then we raised the bar when we did semifinals, and we had 4 in the US. And then we raised the bar when we had 2, but we had 60 people. And then we raised the bar again when it had 4, right? Like, that bar, you know what it's getting away from to me?
Community.
The
base.
The base. When you keep that base here, the top people don't change. When you raise the bar, you take it away from the other people that are trying to reach that bar.
But Chase, these athletes are so elite now, they don't need to be intermixed with the regular athletes anymore.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I have
what
a-
a way to like keep yourself from like disassociating your base fandom. And it's like, and so as you raise the bar, you limit the number of people that can even compete, right? Like, your top would never change no matter how low the bar was.
Mm-hmm.
If the bar was on the base level ground, your elite athletes will still be there.
That's
Ready?
what CrossFit's supposed to be for.
That's what it's supposed to be for. Program for the best, scale for the rest. Not
That's an
our
offensive
program
statement.
actually doesn't allow you to join our gym.
Right.
And so with that part, and then the sentiment of, well, the games aren't CrossFit. I was like, yeah, because we've raised that bar so much to try to be this elite sport, but we only offer it to people who can be elite, not those that just aspire to be near those that even aspire to be elite, kind of a deal. And we had that back in those early days because we were all in that. And then I think as we raised the bar so much, and whether it's team, individual, even the time where we cut masters down to 10 people in each division, is that I call this as like the middle class. Here we go to the political side again, or just the middle class got gutted. Like once you raise the bar so much, that rubber band snaps, and that connection between elite and your base totally dissipates. Your middle class, who was always just trying to get to that next level, are like, well, the open and quarterfinals is just where I'm going to live. Why even aspire to get to that top one? And then that's another online thing and another online thing. It is like we're creating this division while trying to make the sport, I would say, cooler than it needs to be, because it was already like, how cool was 2012 CrossFit Games? Or how cool was the 2007, 2008? And Bill's talking about like CrossFitters not liking change. When the games moved from Aromas to Carson, you would have thought like CrossFit was over. Like,
Right.
it was like they sold out, the corporate out, and then now what do we say? Is like the tennis stadium was the greatest CrossFit arena in the history of the sport.
Yep.
And so maybe that's where I wanted this conversation is like, what was that disconnect, or what is that disconnect? Because the further we get away from each other, then the more we can just like get at each other.
The part about raising the bar here, where athletes, and I understand the sentiment of like, we're so elite now, like NFL, you don't see NFL football players like playing with kids in junior high school. Right. I get that. Number one, we're not there. So like some of the analytics I've run on the outside is like, we're trending towards like a 2010 level size of CrossFit. We've gone deeply backwards. And so for the athletes to say like, oh, we're so much better than that now, the ecosystem isn't. Like, you might be athletically better than any of these people. Therefore, you shouldn't fear that you're going to lose your spot to somebody who sucks. And if you do, you've got work to do. But then number two, like, we have to go back and build again. Like, and that's what I don't like, is the athletes are so disconnected from their responsibility. And yeah, I'm going to say it's a responsibility. And Rich is still carrying that torch of like, it's your responsibility to build this thing. And the farther you push yourself away from the community and the touch points that you have with normal people, that like the worse it's going to get for you. I was texting, I can't remember, I think it might've been Souza, but if you plot a graph of the money in CrossFit, it's gone down and down and down and down. Right. But then there is, if you plot the rise of the PFA, I'm going to hit on them again. It's directly invert.
I'm done with people like David. Don't fuck with me ever again.
But it's like, you can't, I understand why they're doing that, because the money's drying up for themselves and you start freaking out. And yeah, I'm going to tie this back to money. At the end of the day, I think that if everybody was getting paid $1 million, nobody would be talking. You just can't have that. The system is broken, and that these athletes are not owning up to their responsibility for the base. And that's why I get back to the regionals and people participating, is that's the base builder. Mm-hmm. There's another base builder I'll come back to on the HQ side, but
yeah. I think it's very interesting that you said that the athletes need to understand their responsibility, and I don't think that can be taken lightly. Like, I remember, and we've all had this. We've all had the athletes that are in our regular gym that will walk around like their shit doesn't stink, and it's like, dude, you came from this group and you don't even talk to anybody anymore. Like, who the hell do you think you are? And yet they want them to buy their T-shirts to help them get to the sectional, the sanctional, the regional, the whatever, the games, whatever the thing is. And then they get upset why they wonder, well, why aren't they helping me get there? And that's what I think that a lot of these athletes don't understand. Yes, you are an athlete. Yes, this is your full-time gig right now. I get it. You're a 24-year-old. This is all you're doing. You're training all the time. You're doing your stuff. But if there was no CrossFit community, there would be no CrossFit sport.
Right.
At all. Because CrossFit does not know how to market to the outside world. So your only fan base are the people that are in the gym. The only ones. And maybe maybe they're flipping through the channels and they'll see on ESPN, whatever one they're on now, or CBS or whatever, and hopefully it's not some dumb event that they put on there.
I
That's the
think
only
we're
way
on
they get to see them.
ESPN 9 or 10 now.
Stop.
The Ocho, baby. The Ocho.
We're not even good enough for the Ocho.
Hey, we were on
anymore.
ESPN this past
I
night.
know. But I think that that's important. I mean, like, how can you forget the only thing that's keeping you afloat? How can you be that? And I'm not saying that they're even that brash about it. I'm saying that they just don't know. They don't understand.
That's it.
No one has told them that.
Yeah.
They didn't come. A
Small world.
lot of the newer athletes. Okay, Rich knows. That's why right now I think in the space, Rich probably has the best voice of the blending sports side and CrossFit side. He's
Think
the
about
only
this.
one that gets it, man.
Think
that is
about this
saying
for
it
a second.
with a big platform.
Rich really is not doing the sport anymore. If you
Not
see
at all.
any of his athletic endeavors are outside of CrossFit,
Right.
yet his gym is huge. And you know why? It's because the elite athletes go there and train. They mingle with normal people. And he has a huge normal people base in his gym. That and so I'm hearkening back to Maximus. They were touchable. They were there. They were relevant. They cared about you, the normal person. So anyway.
Well, and here's the thing with all the old guard games athletes is that in those early days is that they were the only reason why they could compete is because they were coaches in their affiliate for the most part. So they had the time to, or they started opening up their own affiliates, or they got on level 1 staff and they became ingrained into the community. And then as it became more professional, I think it became more and more disassociated with the community that brought them there.
Right.
Like, you see people competing now where they're like, oh, I had no idea. It's like, I just found out that I was good at this. So I just kept going.
Dude,
harder.
Nick Uranker was like a Verizon cell phone salesman. And on his lunch, he would go to the park to go try
Marcus
to get his
Hendren was
workout.
the original farmer, right?
Oh, man.
Colt Mertens all the time.
Shout out.
Yeah. And like Dan Bailey was living on a marina boat for years in San Diego just to like give himself time and opportunity to keep competing at the game. But he still did stuff. How many times was it like the Rogue versus again Faster, or the ranch trips and those throwdowns that were just again, that was like part of HQ maybe facilitating those things. But I feel like athletes there were like, please bring me. We want to be there versus what are you going to give me to come to this?
Can I pivot to the HQ side of this equation? Because you hinted at it with the level 1, right? And I was talking with somebody the other day, and it's like, what's the point of getting your level 1 anymore? Like, we don't really feel like you can professionalize as a coach. The CrossFit ecosystem, as far as coaching goes, is dried up to a degree. Where is the future for me in that? And so I remember back in, again, 2014, all these podcasts, there was like, especially with the Barbell Shrug guys, they would talk to different experts all the time. Like, what are you doing? How are you training people different? Like, what are these different sciences that you are implementing, right? And then you had the initiatives that Greg was sort of on, like the anti-Coke, the can't be bought thing, the NSCA stuff. And it's like, man, we're going really deep.
That's what we're here for.
I think, so the problem with private equity, and I don't have a total problem with private equity owning it, but the issue is that I think that they think that this is a 20% margin company. They want to get it to a 20% margin. And the issue with that is I don't think CrossFit is. Like, if you go back to the Greg days, he wasn't making 20% on the company. He was paying employees. He was making a little bit for himself, but what he was doing was he was building an ecosystem. And what I think CrossFit hasn't realized is that they're a 5% company at best, that they have to put most of the money that they make back into the ecosystem, back into these events, and back into initiatives. And on the initiative side, so we're like in a desperate public health moment, right? People are fat. I was sending pictures. My wife's doing, she's getting her PhD, and she's doing studies on kids and correlating exercise with social media use and the anxiety that's produced from social media use. We have a huge social media issue.
Yeah.
CrossFit's not talking about any of these. And it's like, what a time to be alive. What a time to have access to people and train them. And we're not taking advantage of any of that. And so what I think CrossFit has to do is they have to realize that they're the voice leader of health in the world. They have to lead these initiatives. They have to tell the gyms why they should care about these things. And we don't have any of those anymore. It's just like, just run your affiliate, try to make people healthy. As an affiliate owner, and I've never been one, but it would be hard to motivate yourself for 10 plus years when you don't have something greater to solve besides just making people not fat. You have to have a greater cause. And we don't have any of those causes anymore. And so it's like, why would I better myself as far as education goes, tying back to the L1, when it's just like, I know where that goes. It's not evolving. It's not growing. It's not chasing new dragons to slay.
Well, Chasen, you said something earlier about like that we do have the pieces. Like you said, it's not like the only one that's really been changed was Greg.
Yeah.
Problem is that all those things that Tyler's talking about would be great if it came from Dave and Nicole and Chuck and all the people that you listen. But the thing is, nobody hears them talk ever. And I mean, and I get the games, and I understand what happened, went down with the games, and kind of keeping everything quiet. But like those, if those are the players from the original, if those are the original gears, then why aren't they talking about all those things that Tyler just mentioned? Because that is right. We should be extremely loud. I mean, we keep saying, well, we say in our group, our locker room group especially, I hear it occasionally from Dawn, but we have the answer to the world's most vexing problem. Hey, CrossFit, say what the vexing problem is. And there's a lot of them. Like, pick 8 of them. Pick 8 of them.
I mean, there's more now than there was 20 years ago.
Right.
You know what I'm
100%.
bothered about that is that how are we 20 years into CrossFit and we don't have actual metrics on the fact that we do solve diabetes? How has nobody looked at that? How is there's 1,000 kinesiology majors in CrossFit coaching at gyms, and none of them has said, oh, we actually do solve diabetes, and we've never put it on paper ever. Not one time.
Yeah. I mean, we did one Christmas where, what was that, diabetes Coke can? Or we posted it as that we cure type 2 diabetes.
See, and that goes back to, I guess, kind of what I was talking about, the gritty, the Fight Club element. Like, not afraid to say something. We're so afraid to say anything that we say nothing.
Health is never going to taste good. Health is never going to taste good to people. No. And so you're going to have to go on a limb and say, man, you're overweight, you're fat, but we can fix it. It tastes bad, but it's actually a very good positive.
Yeah. Do you feel like part of that could have been over the last 3 to 4 years when we couldn't just being that outward is even a bigger blowback for anybody than it was 8-10 years ago?
As far as what do you mean?
Just like if CrossFit were to come out and just be like, Ozempic is bullshit, you guys are just lazy. This is like if we went as hard as as Greg did 10 years ago, I don't think we were in and this isn't an excuse for anything. I'm just bringing up do you think conversation is like just the way the world was at the time over these last 4 to 6 years of just like, oh, now we're just going to cancel CrossFit because we canceled Greg.
I think that I could see them doing it, saying it one time and being like, how'd everyone respond to that? Everyone like that? Everyone like that? But the problem is all of us would be like, wait, what did you just say? Like, are you serious about that? It would take a handful of those. Because here's what happened. When Greg came, Greg in the early days was able to bounce on both sides. He was able to talk, going against Big Sugar and going against Big Soda at the same times that the games was going on. Now, granted, he had Dave that could do the games and, Tony back in the day and Justin Burr getting in there, and they could run the game side. He saw that the games started becoming more of the focal point. That's why he pulled the plug. I get it. I understand what he's trying to do. I didn't like it at the time. I really thought that like you just going to knock down the whole house of cards, like everything, just to knock it all down. Like build 2, like you can do that. But when Rosa came in, Rosa didn't talk about any of that. Like when Greg stepped out, there was no discussion at all about all the things that CrossFit is supposed to do. It was only about the games. So now what's hard is like we hear all of these stories that people are doing, and it's this is going to sound bad. I have a hard time taking it as being sincere. I feel like
you think it's just because it's been so long.
Yeah.
Because I would say is they are attempting to do or turn back that direction. I'm not saying it's like, oh, look.
What, are you talking Sevon and Matt doing the affiliate thing and giving money so that they have all these affiliate commercials? They could tell all these great stories.
And that's the thing, right?
CrossFit hasn't done that.
Right. And that's where Greg was so good, is that he took all those cogs that we were talking about and he unleashed them.
Yeah.
Right.
And let them free too.
Right.
It wasn't like do it like this. It's like you do you. And that's when we were at our best, our strongest, because all those cogs are teeth too.
Yeah.
Right. And we had the knowledge and we had the understanding. We had the unwavering belief that we do believe in this because we've seen this, we've proven this. Now we might not have the studies that like Tyler is asking for, which that was a great point, by the way.
Yeah.
I do see them. It's like, all right, well, now seems to be a recognition of, okay, we have lost our voice. How do we get that back? Right. And with these live CrossFit training videos that they're starting to do on this YouTube channel, and then the stories that they're, post-production, like they are actively trying to do something right now. But Bill, I think you're in the spot, like you're in a position where I think a lot of people are, they're like, are you just doing this to tell me to shut up? Or are you doing this to get me back on board? And I'm just going to sit here at an arm's length distance, watch it from the outside and see if like, okay, oh, it's still going. We're still doing this. Maybe we're getting a bit more emboldened with our opinions and with the things that we say, whether it's live on a YouTube channel or certain videos that we're coming out with. Like, I want to, just from this perspective of seeing things from the other side of the fence a little bit, is that they, like what, let's say Jenna Haka is trying to do is like, she recognizes that we have lost our voice. And it's like, if you're a company like this, especially one of CrossFit, and you've lost your voice, then people will start to speak for you. And that's where you start to get in trouble, because some people try to speak for you in the best of ways, like they've always done. I mean, I feel like we do that at a lot of times. Obviously, Savon does it in his own way, Pillar, and speaking in a certain ways, like it could be on either side of the fence, good or bad, but both are impactful. And when you don't have your own voice, and then you try to bring it back into the equation, it's like, now you got to, like, you were the only one talking. As about 6 to 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. And people were just waiting for you to say something. And now all of these voices have come into the space, and you're starting back here. It's going to take some time if you're going to try to get in that, because what I would love is that we were all talking about what CrossFit's doing and what they're saying. And even if you don't agree with it, at least there's something there to talk about. Like there would be
agreed with everything Greg said either.
Oh, right. And people forget that. I think some people think like Greg was like Kurt Cobain for Nirvana. And like once he was gone, everyone's like, oh, Nirvana's the greatest grunge band of all time. I'm like, says who? Like, it's like, all right. It's like the drum line was the same for every damn song. No, I'm just
it like, really was though.
It's like the good old days. And that's kind of part of why we put that quote at the front, is that you forget about all the bad times and you focus on the good times that you're not having. So you think that's all there was. There was shit all over the place for decades with the community in a bunch of different ways. It was not a perfect community, but it was all still there. And people were trying to do things and be active in the space. So I don't really know where I was going. I just wanted to say is like, yes, it's been like that, but I do see them trying to get it back.
And that's good that you see that, but I will say take it as you're in a relationship and you get cheated on, or someone does something that's like dirty to you, or hurts you some way, somehow, whatever. Mm-hmm. And they're like, just trust me. It'll be like it used to be. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm waiting. And so cool that you're doing these things. Like it is so hard to see that those guys, I mean, like, okay, they're putting podcasts out now. At least they're doing something. They get 15 views. Like, cool.
But don't quit.
That's the thing.
We got
Do
30
not-
on spin when we first
Do
started.
not stop, because if you
Right?
stop, then it didn't mean anything. Because if they stop, that means that they didn't believe it. And that, I think that's the difference. All of us that have done all of our things, we did it not because like, well, let's see how many likes we can get out of it. We did it because we believed in whatever it is that we did, and we built our
I
group out
want
of
to
that.
do this. I believe in this. I'm going to keep doing this. And if anybody wants to come along for the ride because they feel the same way like we do, great.
Because we cut to our heart, we believe it, we know that it's the right thing to do. That is where they are sitting right now. With all, I mean, great that they're doing all their podcasts, great they're doing all their shows, but everyone is sitting there and going like, okay, let me see if I'm going to be
That's
interested in
fair.
this.
So to hit on what both of you guys are saying, they're having to compete with us now.
Yeah.
And that sucks. And the main thing that I'm hearing you kind of say is that it feels a bit forced, it feels a bit fake to be able to compete with John Young, Sevon, Hiller. You know what Hiller's guilty of? Brute force honesty.
Mhm.
It is not that you have to say something negative. People have to feel moved by the honesty that you're purveying, right? And at the moment, it just doesn't feel honest. You have to open yourself up to criticism. And Hiller's dealt with his fair bit of criticism, man. And it's like, but that's what we have to be about.
Yeah.
And so it's like what I would say to this podcast that HQ is trying to do is like, just say something. It, like, you guys know me. It took me till probably like maybe 6 months ago before I could really be me on a camera.
Yeah.
But like you guys are the community leaders. You're the movement leaders. You have to jump out. You got to get outside of your comfort zone. You have to be honest. That is the one thing that Sevon's pushed on me more than anything is like, you just have to say what you really think. And right now they're not thinking anything.
What you just said is that you have to be honest. I hear you have to be real. You have to be authentic. And I feel like people think that means you have to be correct. And that is not the case. And what
Look
I
at John.
yeah, right. Or us, like, and I think what it happened is that people who are so afraid to not say the right thing, they say the thing that they believe most people believe to be true. And so you're almost reading a script or a bullet point, or you're riding that fence enough. It's like nobody falls for that. Nobody believes you because, as you said, it's like you're not being real, you're not being honest, you're not being authentic. And so when you see, podcasts or shows that just sit there on the line the whole time, it's like, and you wonder why you don't have any engagement, is because you're not engaging. Like I've had opinions on this show that I have gotten myself into some hot water with, not from fans. I'm talking about like people who sign my checks.
Real hot water.
Like, like the bruises on my wrists from the slaps that I've gotten, and part of it too is that I am to a fault. It's like I will speak my mind and speak my opinion. I'll never do it as intentionally to like tear down or take away or do something. It's like, hey, listen, like you guys, like this is how I feel. Like this is like having an argument with your spouse. And Bill, you nailed it perfectly. Like we've all feel like we've been, like if feel like you've been betrayed by whatever's happening, is like it's going to take some warming up to. You just saying I'm sorry, I'll never do it again, and I love you, isn't going to just like fix everything right away. Right. But if I'm having an argument with my spouse or even with a friend, the worst thing you can do is that you did this. Right? The thing you're supposed to do, and Bill said it perfectly, is this is how you made me feel. Mm-hmm. Right. I'm not saying, hey, you
call those I statements.
Yes. Right. I've read the books. I had to do some growing. Right. You don't get to 10 years of marriage and not have, a few, speed bumps along the road. And it's like, this is how it made me feel. These are the things that are my concerns. Now, I'm not going to go out there and say, you are doing this or you are not doing this, and this is how I feel because of those things that you are doing. I'm just saying, whatever this is how I feel right now. And I can acknowledge your feelings on the situation. Then we can have a conversation of why we got there in the first place.
What do you think? What do you think? We're talking heyday time now. What do you think was the one guiding light with CrossFit? Like, what do you think was that one torch that was up there that Greg had? And I'm talking about whatever, whether it was sport, whether it was CrossFit as a whole, what did you see as the light?
For me, it was my belief in of like CrossFit is just a life-changing thing and movement that people can be a part of if they want to. And that I want them to be a part of this because I know how much it can do these things. Yes, it might be opinion that it's a life-changing methodology for me, even though it's just working out for an hour, 3 to 5 times a week. But we've said many times is what you get from that hour stretches well beyond your health and fitness and resting heart rate, right? The ability to overcome self-doubt, the ability to learn how to be disciplined, the ability to understand is that everybody is in the same level playing field because we're all dealing with something. But the fact that everybody walked in the doors today for this shitty workout, there's a level of respect and community. That's where it builds. And community is always strongest when there's a shared suffering, not like a famine
100%,
suffering
100%.
or a hazing, but it's like, yeah, man, we all went through it together. Now we're all closer to it. That's why there's hazing in college sports. It's not that that can get a little off the rails a little bit. It did when I was a freshman, but that's where it was, is that Greg had created something that I believed in because I felt the change in my life when it happened to me. So what I wanted to do was I was in, and I wanted to share that experience and opportunity for people to have that with me. It had very little to do with fighting Big Soda or the NSCA or the people trying to buy out his ex-wife and the whole unbuyable thing. And the CrossFit Games was like, to me, like this was the whole thing, the whole ecosystem. So when I found this, I wanted more of it. So then I wanted to be a coach in the gym. And then after I was a coach in the gym, I was like, you know what? Maybe one day I want to open up my own affiliate so I can do more of this. And it was never, I want to open my affiliate because screw this place, I can do it better. It's like, no, I just want to do more of it. And I can't do it right now as a coach.
Tyler, what's your...
Can I would change a little bit of what Chase said. And I would say it was the fight of saying to all these other fitness methodologies, whether that was bodybuilding, jazzercise, whatever it was, and said, we looked them in the face and said, you're wrong. We know how to make people healthy, and we're going to fight you to the death about that. And everyone in the community was like, you're right. We do produce results. Like we produce results like no one else can. And we will scream it every day until we die.
Yeah.
And then we stopped.
Okay. So mine is basically the what is fitness write-up that Greg did in the journal. Like that was the light for me. And it sounds stupid, it sounds totally corny, but I went back trying to find something and I read through that. And basically what I got out of that was, this is something that will allow me to do anything that I want to do for the rest of my life. It will allow me to be, I can do my job. I can do a triathlon if I want. I can, bust through that wall if I need to with the sledgehammer. I can do whatever I need to do to live and succeed and enjoy life. Now, you take those 3 things that we just said, the 3 of them that we just said, the what is fitness lecture, the we're not afraid to say this and we're going to say this to the rooftops, in the community to get everyone to do that. Why isn't that comment being said, that nugget, that flame being held up at the very fucking top of every fucking comment that is made that comes out of CrossFit's voice, not the games? Even highlight the games as this is the beautification of this. This is the expression of this. But we are for everyone out there because here's the stuff that we'll do. No, it's not easy, but you will guaranteed get better. But like, there's none of that. And you're right. It doesn't have to be big soda. It doesn't have to be big pharma. But the thing is that all those things get wrapped up into that. I mean, dude, I feel like we just designed the mission statement for CrossFit. And I don't know why they aren't having it, because that is what a mission statement is supposed to be, is the guiding light for every single decision that company makes.
as an action item for HQ, would you say, hey, we got to start back at ground zero? We have to remind people that this is what we are. They've
I think
forgotten.
they need to know why they're here.
You're
Because
saying
you can't
that
believe
the
a mission
leadership doesn't
statement,
know.
right? Because a mission statement has to be what you believe. I know what I believe in my gym. I know what I believe when I'm doing my normal stuff now. I know
Not
what
to shit on
guides me.
Chase, but you're saying the individual employees at HQ, there's some finance bro that they found from Vandy or something like that, and they just work there. They don't actually believe the method. Whereas back in the day, everybody who worked at HQ believed in the method.
What's the biggest problem with every single company? If you have workers, that's great. But if they're just there for the pay, and I'm not saying that the people that work at CrossFit are this.
There's a lot of good people here.
I'm
But
not
if you work
exactly,
at Ford, you buy Ford.
Right. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. No, I understand that. And okay, so with 2 years, like, okay, do we start over? It's like, and
Yeah.
that was the part of why this whole topic came to be. And it's like, yeah, maybe. Like, what's the worst that could happen if you like state of where we're at, state of CrossFit right now? What is the worst thing that could happen if you just blew up semifinals and this, that, and we went just back to the old grass? It's like 5-week opens coming back. Let's party. We're going to do 20 small events. There's going to be this much budget dedicated to them. In fact, you're going to get barely anything. And we're just going to
Barnes again.
Right. We're just going to qualify 2 or 3 people here. And then when we get to the games, we'll party. Like what's the worst that could happen if you just hit reset mode? Obviously put a bit more forethought than what I just said out loud for no reason, but like what's the worst that could happen?
To get back to your point about relationships, the most important conversations I've ever had with my wife hurt like shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you look at it in the face and you're like, we have a real problem.
Yeah.
And they're like, it doesn't taste good. It doesn't feel good. But then on the other side of that, you're like, we are so much better because we ate that for a little while and we went back and we built the base back up.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to just tear it down. And I'm guilty of that. Like, fuck, I created a whole scoring system that essentially teared it down to the nuts and bolts and rebuilt it. I'll reinvent the wheel every single time. So I'm guilty of that. But like, I would say we need to get back and say like, hey guys, this is why we're here.
Yeah.
Like, feel good about this. Go out and be warriors for this.
Yeah. It's like, okay, so we say you just, hypothetical. I was like, retool it all, bring it back down to the grassroots studs of what the game season is. And what we were trying to do is just like recreate more touch points for the community to get together and be in person more. And it's like, all right, open it back up to 60 and 60, 10 small events. You're going to get 2
Send them all.
And everyone's like, we're back, baby. I'm 42. Maybe I can make it. You know, like how much can I damage myself permanently for the next 5 years trying to qualify for the South Central B qualify? And you just start over. And what it was is like the bar kept raising and like you said earlier, is like, I feel like it just stretched the community away from each other because Because what happened was when the games were the games back in the early days, like it was all symbiotic. The community supported the games supported the community because it gave more opportunities for the community to get together and be with each other and celebrate the thing that made them all the person they are right there. And then the open came around and it was long. We had the open announcements. We were in the affiliates and they were packed out. Like the old school open announcements were insane. Insane opportunities for the community to rally because, okay, we're going to say rally. Was it North Carolina, South Carolina? South Carolina?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. One of the Carolinas. And all the affiliates and owners would get there. And then there was like a party before and after, and like just a touch point there.
If you're looking at it as a triangle again, and your community is at the base, your affiliates are in the middle, and the sport is up at the top.
Mm-hmm.
If you're choosing to cut a particular group out and not do damage to the largest number, would you cut the community out or would you cut the sport out?
Sport.
Right. I mean, let's say you have 2,000 athletes that because CrossFit isn't supporting them in their sorry, Gordon. Sorry.
Gordon.
Because you're not supporting them in their endeavors of their life or whatever, but yet you have another 12,000, 10,000 affiliates, and you have, a couple 100,000 people that are all going. And that doesn't mean you stop talking about the CrossFit Games and then you don't talk about anything. That means like whatever it is, like you're leaning into whatever.
Yeah.
And because as of now, there hasn't been a lean into the community at all.
It's a parallel. A little bit of that is like, I think we see some of the same things happening because like in some of our major off-season competitions, it's like, we're trying to make it too big. We're trying to make it too elite. We're trying to make it too exclusive. I mean, outside of like, I'll take Rogue off the table. Like they're just their own.
They're paying their own thing. They're their own.
They're their own machine, and it's beautiful to watch. And we all wish that was something that we could facilitate. It's like, man, some of the best times was like this local throwdown that would sell out 200 people in 1 minute because everybody got to sign up for it. And like say what JR's doing in Crash is like, he will never make Crash bigger than everybody else wants it to be. It's like, oh, you could do a bigger thing and like put in stands, and then maybe you'll get to see the local basketball arena. And he's like, no.
I pushed him to do that.
Yeah,
he's like,
right?
no, dude. Why would I do that?
Some of the best times I've ever had competing was just at a local throwdown that wasn't trying to be the CrossFit Games.
Yep.
Or wasn't trying to be regionals, or wasn't trying to be semifinals. And my whole point here is just like, our community needs to be together more in person. Like the summits we have for affiliate owners are some of the best times that our owners have, because it's an opportunity for them to get together and be in person and realize that like that gym 2 blocks down the road isn't your competitor. It's the F45 and the Orange Theory and the Barry's Boot Camp that's in between the two of you guys is part of that. But if we don't get together more or have opportunities to have these times to be in person, that's what happens. We just assume you're my enemy, because we just don't even know who each other are. We're just like, oh, you're a CrossFit gym, therefore you're taking CrossFit people from me. It's like, or we're the best CrossFit gyms, we're the best gyms, and we show people that they are in between us that they're in the wrong. Like you're not in the wrong. You're working out. God bless you.
No, you're in the wrong.
Okay.
What I would say about the affiliate meetings, those are such powerful events and opportunities. Like, as somebody who just goes to a CrossFit gym, I'm never motivated by what happens at the affiliate meetings. And it's like, it's not being parsed down to the local affiliate goer. And it's like, I want to feel motivated by the movement that I'm involved in, right? And so if you go to these affiliate meetings and Don gets up there and says like, hey guys, like this is the initiative that we're after. Here's what we're focusing on, and I think that's what was powerful about the Big Sugar thing, was that it's like, oh, we're fighting this fight. Like, let's go.
But that went to everybody though. That didn't go just to the affiliate owner.
So the affiliate things, so what you want from those affiliate things is what the owners are getting, right? Like they need that themselves. There's an operation there. Now, what can be your thing? Right? What were those things that we went to and then inspired us in a certain way as those things would for, say, affiliate owners?
Yeah, it's regionals.
Regionals. Or a level 1.
Yeah.
Right? And
but you only go to a level 1 once, maybe twice.
Even so, is like, but there needs to be an inspiration to get you there. Right? If trainers are hard to come by, and we hear this a lot, it's like, hey, I'm trying a hard time finding coaches. And like, yeah, when I started coaching, it wasn't to become a coach. I just loved this gym. I was like, you know what? I would love to, like, when I got coached in a CrossFit gym, I was like, I have missed this so much, just because I played sports in college or all the way through until college. And like, I needed a team. I needed a coach. I needed someone to tell me what to do, because I'll work hard, but I don't know what I'm doing. And once I got in the CrossFit gym, I was like, oh, I want to do this for somebody else. Yep. Like that's where my inspiration drew from. So, and it wasn't like, oh, I just want to be a coach and just like make a salary just being a coach. It's like, no, hey, 2 classes a week. You got that 2 class a week coach who just kills it.
Hell, I cleaned the gym and I was stoked.
I did too. I cleaned the rig and I got all the tape and residue off the pull-up rig. And I'm like, you savages over here taping your pull-up bars.
And then you do it again next month.
Yeah. And then by the time you get to like the 4 p.m. class, you're like, what did you guys do? But I drew that inspiration. And the most inspired, and I'm not saying regionals is the fix-all. I'm just saying there was a time, and maybe that's where this disconnect is in the community right now, is that I joined a CrossFit gym. I was only there for a few months. And then I heard that people in the gym that I saw as the best athletes in the gym heroes, were competing in a local competition called regionals. And I was like, I don't know what that is. And they're like, oh, well, there's a games thing. And they're like, I was like, oh, you can compete in this thing? And now I'm 26. So I'm a little different of a human. And I was like, oh, sign me up. Competition. Yeah. No money required. And I walk up, and this is in Fort Worth, Texas. Is at CrossFit GSX on Hell's Half Acre, which is now CrossFit Iron Horse. And I walk up to this black fence. There's rowers and barbells. I'm coming in the middle of the event, and the guy who told me to come hands me one of his shirts because I didn't have a gym shirt yet, so I could put it on and just cheer for the 10 or 12 people that were there just trying to chase the dream. And that was the moment where I look through those bars and I go, I will do this for the rest of my life. Not compete. I want to be a part of whatever this is. This is it. I found it. And in that moment, I found my place and I have never looked back. And that was the turning point for me. It just happened to be at a regional.
That's funny. You said something interesting that's going to come off really cheesy, but CrossFit used to be a facilitator of dreams.
Yeah.
And it's not anymore. And that fucking hurts to say that.
Can it
that's
be?
what it feels.
Yes.
It's 100% there. For those who still use it, it can be, but we've forgotten that it is a facilitator of dreams.
Right. And that's what I'm talking about. Like it can be the facilitator of dreams because of what it's able to offer. But we don't tell anyone what it offers. We have yet to say how we are different than everything else that's out there, how we own what we do, how we are the ones that can make the changes in whatever it is that's going on in your life. Like not that the phrases that Greg said in the past need to be repeated per se, but like the things that Greg said were like, holy shit, he actually just said that. You do CrossFit for 3 months, write something down in an envelope and come back 3 months, 6 months later.
Yep.
And no matter what the thing is, it's going to be better dad, better student, better at my finances. I'm going to look better. I'm going to feel whatever the thing is. He didn't even care. Like, that's a bold statement. That is a bold statement to say, this will make whatever you have going on in your world better. Who else is saying that?
For it.
Yeah.
Nobody. But the belief that he had in that is unreal. And okay, if Don can't do that, fine.
Honesty.
How about Dave? How about Nicole? How about Chuck? Picking up that, and again, it doesn't have to be that exact same comment, but something like that, because that's what made us go, like, it's statements like that design your dreams, that build your dreams, that makes your dreams. Not like, well, yeah, there's a community. We do some stuff. Yeah, we work out hard.
You know what's... Oh, sorry, Chase.
You can go.
I was going to say what's incredibly powerful about this conversation right now. I wish it was on HQ's YouTube, because it's essentially, I think, the conversation that the community wants, because you have an HQ employee, an affiliate owner, an X Games athlete, and like, I know that people think I have a platform, but I'm just a really loud community member, a hopeful to be an athlete.
You're the
and an
base.
affiliate owner. I'm the base.
Dude, right. This Yeah.
This is the conversation that we want on
I'm
HQ's
in
channel.
the base too. Like I look at everything from the base perspective, even if I
Right.
do work for CrossFit. And being on the other, yes, I do work for CrossFit, and I work in the affiliate department, and I dabble with like media for the sports side. It's like there are great people trying really hard to do the right thing here. It's there. Now we're having this conversation because the community is feeling a different way about maybe what they're getting. And the thing with Greg and Bill, what you're talking about, like rallying behind something or being a torchbearer, is like Greg didn't do it as like, hey, follow me.
Mm-mm.
He's like, hey, I'm doing this. Everyone's like, I like that. And to couple with that is that having something like that to, hang your hat on or be a part of, that there is an onus that, like, we weren't asked to do these things. We just did because we believed in whatever direction this was going. We're like, I like this. I want to be a part. I'm riding this wave.
It made sense.
But we didn't ride it to just like, hey, I'm waiting for you to move. It's like, no, I'm on the wave. Now I'm actively getting more people on the wave. I'm an active participant in growing this community and protecting what CrossFit is to me. I'm active in that. And when you don't have something in the front to start the wave, it's really hard for people to ride it with you or actively participate. And it's going to take both. But the hard thing is just restarting what that is. And if I think I know if you do it, that then the community who's been waiting, like everyone is dying for something like that again. And so like we're at, Bill's like, hey, I'm at a wait and see moment. And this is what they're trying to do is like, if that wave comes back, then I hope the community is ready to ride it and ride with it and push it forward too, because it can't just be one person from the front.
You're veering on this point though now in where we are in the timeline of CrossFit and the lack of faith that we have. Like I've started to take it upon myself to create the solutions to the problems we see. And like you're seeing that with the athletes now, that they're like, no, we're just going to do our own leagues. Mm-hmm. I'm at the point now where I'm like, the main problem is that it's become too unattainable for normal people, athletic still, but normal people to participate in these events. And so it's like, I'm trying to solve the problem. I'm trying to create a league in which people can do that. You're getting to the point where everyone's going to stop listening to you and they're going to start making their own things. And you're going to, just as with the media, you lost control. You're on the verge of losing control of it all. No one's going to want to play soon.
But they don't have to play. Again, like looking at what the main guiding light of CrossFit shouldn't be about the play.
Play. I'm saying play in the broader sense. Play as in just being involved. Mm. They're not going to say, hey, CrossFit anymore. They're going to abandon ship soon.
I will say, and I've had a lot of discussions with people about like, keeping the affiliate, not keeping the affiliate. And I will tell you right now, as someone that has come up with the name, there are few things that are attached to my heartstrings as much as something that is like obscure as CrossFit. Like I've been doing this a long time now, and I truly, like, I have always joked about the fact that I'm a fitness elitist. Like I will say, no, that shit you're doing is stupid. I have no problem saying that. Like I believe so strongly in what the CrossFit methodology is that I have purposely done all of the other things so that I know. Mm. But like that's what I mean. Like to remove that from me is a very painful idea.
Yeah. Well,
but that's why. Well, that's why, like, I have turned in. So, like, if the torch isn't being waved, then I'm sitting over here with a lighter. My thumb is fucking burning in my own place because I'm gonna carry the torch that way because that's the way I feel about it. So, like, whatever the ship is gonna do, like, I don't know what the ship is gonna do. I'm waiting to see. I see a couple oars coming out. People trying to give a little paddle there. I'm waiting to see what's gonna happen. But like, I'm still. Like I still have my patch that's sitting right there that says CrossFit, because it's like, okay, if you guys aren't going to do it for whatever reason, and I'm not saying that it won't happen, but if you don't, then I have it right here.
Mm.
I mean, and going back to the beginning of this
OG.
shirt, that's what it was, man.
Yeah.
That literally was what it was.
Well, for me,
My
it's,
fear. Sorry, Chase. I keep shitting all over
you're
you,
good.
man.
You're good. I'll say why. Like I'm up in this for the long haul is like what CrossFit did for me. I feel like is an unpayable debt back to CrossFit, not CrossFit HQ. It didn't tie to a person. What CrossFit did for me, period. Everything that I currently have in my, like everything I do, like podcast, like started coaching because I wanted to give, like I've said this multiple times on the show already. I started coaching to hopefully inspire someone and change someone else's life like mine was because of my coach in my gym. And then I wanted to open up my own gym because I wanted to be able to do more of that to give back to CrossFit. I didn't open up a gym for like myself. I wanted to give back more to CrossFit, the thing, right? This just personally, like this belief system that I have that was just called CrossFit. And, you know, I wanted to be on level 1 staff because I wanted to give back and inspire more people like my level 1 staff coaches did. I got the opportunity to be on the media team, and it wasn't because I wanted to have a mouthpiece or a microphone in front of my mouth and to put myself on TV so that I can like boost whatever that is like, I want to be able to give back even more to CrossFit and speak to it in a competitive setting and how that relates to the community and all these other facets that I love about CrossFit. And I just happen to have a microphone. What a better position to be in to give back to CrossFit. And I started this podcast with Bill to give back, to bring more stuff to CrossFit. Anything that we do, anything that I do has nothing to do about lifting myself above anybody else or above CrossFit. It's like a top-down thing. This is a bottom-up, right? I feel like Atlas holding up the world right now. That's my whole CrossFit journey, is just sitting here at the bottom trying to create a stronger base for the thing that totally changed my life. And that's the reason for every single thing that I do. And the fact now I get to work for the company, right? I came to the dance of the person that brought me here, and that's CrossFit. And I'll be forever grateful to that. And I'll forever do whatever I can to fight for that, to make it better, to build it up, to support it. And it may be sometimes to go through some hard growing pains of critique and criticism and acknowledgement of maybe we're not on the path that we started on. But it's only because of how much I love CrossFit is for the reason I do anything in this arena. That's it.
What I would say to Don, and this is going to hurt a little bit because I don't know that he would be able to really internalize what this means, but like you both are extremely determined individuals. And I feel the same way about CrossFit. Like, dude, do you know how much time we spend doing this shit? Like it's a full-time job and we don't get paid for any of this. Like we make a couple of bucks here and there, but it's like, we're the lighter holders. And what I would look at Don and I would be like, hey man, like Bill has to hold that lighter open. You're hurting all of your lighter holders. Like you're putting them through that pain at the service of who? People who you won't offend? All these people are hurting for you. And you're not appreciating that. And that's the point that I've come to with them, is that it's like, I have to now do this because you won't carry the torch. I have to hold the lighter.
Deep thoughts.
That's good. That's good.
You know what? I would love it if they actually saw this, if someone watched it, because I don't see it, and I think we have been very good in our time. And I got to get off here because I got to go coach, talking about affiliate people. But like I think we have been very. I hope that they have seen that things that we have done and things that we have said, whether we've analyzed programs or given thumbs down on certain things or whatever, that like it's never been like just a straight up fuck off.
No,
It's always been, God dang
Accountability.
it. Like we're wearing your colors, man. Like, do it like it's this easy to make it this much better. Like, just look at it. If we can see it and we're way down here in the trenches, why the hell can't you see it?
Yeah.
That's what I hope.
And there's some, there's some things that maybe we don't see.
100%. I know that.
Right?
I get it.
Guaranteed.
Of course, we
Yeah.
don't know what those things are because we don't hear any of the
But
things.
like,
and it's just like
it could be as like the people at the top are wanting to do the same things and they're just like hamstrung in a certain way that we don't even understand. And it's maybe not a matter of like they aren't appreciating what the people do, but maybe they're just missing the mark of how to show that appreciation to those people.
man, just say something. It doesn't have
To put
like,
it in-
and it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be the political stuff. Just start saying why it is that CrossFit is so great. Say it. Tell everyone why. Because right now it's just all we are is we're in the same pool with all the other groups anymore. We were the outsiders on purpose.
The alphas.
We became that for sure. But everyone's like, what the fuck is going on over there with those weirdos?
Yeah.
It's okay. Do that again. Say why we're different. Why are we different than Orange Theory? Why are we different than F4? I tell everybody that comes in here, but I don't hear anybody else saying that.
Is there anybody on a podcast who like speak like this about their F45 gym
No.
No.
or their Orange Theory gym?
No.
Well, that was the thing about High Rocks. Like, we went to Chicago this weekend, and I got to experience that from a spectator point. And it felt a lot like regionals, and there was a ton of people there.
Yeah.
They were all really excited, but like people were there for them. And there was no commingling of communities, right? I'll never forget. There was this. We were in Cincinnati, and we went to some burrito place, a buddy during regionals, and we were just sitting there, and we sat with some other people who were just at some CrossFit gym, CrossFit Scioto. And like, I loved that we just sat there and talked about CrossFit.
Yeah.
They aren't doing that in High Rocks.
No. Oh, you mean you went to a local qualifying competition where everybody could kind of make it and you got to hang out with your community and build stronger?
Oh, I mean, like, that's a
Total strangers?
perfect example, man. It's like everybody's stoked on High Rocks because they can all go play.
Yeah. So, all right. I had no idea where that was going to go.
I thought it was
that
cool.
was awesome. Tyler, thank you so much for joining the show.
Yeah, man.
Thank you guys all for watching. Hit that like and subscribe. Keep bumping our numbers because that keeps boosting our engagement here. Costs you nothing but a click on your mouse.
It will be a voice if no one will, when no one else will.
Yeah. If you just don't, then we'll just fizzle out and die and then enjoy your CrossFit then. I'm just kidding. Thank you guys.
Keep holding the lighters.
Yes, we'll be back later in the week. Other than that, have a great Monday. See you next time.